Uh, because we don't have time, and for we will be moving to a new lesson this week. So the remaining aspects of biology in your future, I will be explaining them here just to make you complete the chapter before we move into the next one. Uh, I said to you before that your knowledge of biology will actually help you to understand your health. And the way it helps you to do that is, for example, with your knowledge of biology, you can be able to know that you are allergic to some food, and that will allow you to move away from it. But if you don't know nothing about biology, you think you're eating the food and you're not finding yourself good or well after eating the food, but you're not quite sure of what is happening to you. But with your knowledge of biology, it allows you to know that this food, I have to run away from it because I know that whenever I eat it, it makes me react to the food. And also, some people today, we know the problem we have in the community today is a lot of people are suffering from obesity. Obesity is a disease that people are not quite aware of. And this is because they don't actually know they can have a problem by eating too much of sugar. Many people today go to eat in a restaurant, they have to demand for a drink, maybe Coke or Sprite or wherever, 7 Up. All these things allow you to have a lot of sugar accumulating in the body, which will later increase the weight and allow too much fat to be gathered around the body. And also, eating a lot of fatty food can lead to obesity and lead to a problem in future because when you're overweight, and that's a big problem for you, which you have to start having an appointment with the doctors. You have to start going through some exercises to be able to reduce the weight. Now, this is an example of two rats. One is normal and the other is obese. This is depending on the food they eat. So your knowledge of biology would allow you to know what to eat at a time and what not to eat. And also, when we talk about cancer, cancer is a problem, is a disease today, which is affecting a lot of people. And it happens when the body cells are multiplying without your control. We know the body cells that multiplies used to be under the control of the body. I mean, the system controls the making of the cells. But when the cell starts to multiply without the control of the body or the control of the system, it leads to a lot of cells uh, growing in a place where it's not supposed to be. So that leads to cancer, which allows the body to allow the cells to destroy some tissues, and so that the cells can have a place to stay in it. And also, effect of alcohol and tobacco. Many people today are not quite aware of the damages they're doing to the body when they are taking alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs. We should understand that alcohol, it's when one is addicted to it, it sticks to the mind that when you, for example, it stores in an enzyme is always released in the brain that makes you feel uncomfortable if you've not tested it. So this is called addiction. But if you've been able to know, if you're able to have enough knowledge of biology, you'll be able to know that you're not supposed to take all these things. So because if you do, it might destroy your health. And look at these two pictures we have here. It's a comparison with a not smoker and a person who smokes. You can see how much lower level of an enzyme called monoamine oxidase throughout the body. So this is the amount of monoamine oxidase for the body of a person who does not smoke. But the other one is a person who smokes. This is a not smoker. All the enzymes are normal. The level of the enzymes in the body are normal. But this other guy who smokes, he has a very low level of the enzyme in his body. So this is the problem. But many people today, they don't actually know all these things. And we should understand that when you start to smoke, you're inhaling carbon dioxide, or I rather say carbon monoxide, because it's an incomplete combustion that leads to the smoke in which you're inhaling, which is not quite good for the health. And also, when you talk about the interaction in the community, is the knowledge of biology that will allow you to know that the ecosystem comprises of both the non-living things and the living things in it. So this will not allow you to cause harm for living creatures in the community. For example, people tend to cut down trees, and this is because they're not actually aware of the role the trees play in the community. Trees help to give oxygen to the community when they go through the process of their photosynthesis. And also, they are source of food for people and also some animals. That we have some animals who are dependent on living on the trees. So they get the food and get all the nutrients they need to grow from the trees. So when all these things have been cut down, or when there's a pollution in the community, where the water is polluted or the air is polluted, many organisms or many natural organisms will have to die in the habitat because of the pollution. And also biodiversity, we need to be aware of diversity in the community. The more diverse the community is, the more the healthier the community will be. For example, in a community where you have a lot of organisms, you have a lot of animals, there will be a relationship between the animals in the top hierarchy in the ecosystem and the ones in the lower hierarchy. That is to say, you're going to have a producer, you're going to have a consumer, you're going to have the scavengers. Like for example, in Africa, the vulture helps to clean the community. After the animals have been eating up all they need to eat up in the prey, so the vultures come around to help to cleanse the remaining parts of the animal, and this allows the community to be free of bad smell or pollution, but due to the dead body or dead remains of these animals. So this is cool. This is as a result of biodiversity in the environment, and this really helps community to be in a good mood. This is an example of a frog. There were some college students, I think middle school students in the United States. So they were meant to collect. That was around 1995. They were meant to collect frogs in ponds in the community. But they were shocked by what they saw. They noticed that there were lots of deformities in the frogs. Some with a longer leg, some the limbs were longer than the normal, some were blind, and some with deformed body. So they got to make inquiries about what had led to all these changes or this what do you call it, deformity in these animals. So due to this, they had to carry a real research to know if the water is polluted or if there've been a chemical released into the community which had led to all these things. So it's with the knowledge of biology that will allow you to carry on all these things. But without the knowledge, there is no way you could do all these things. And also, we should also realize that with biotechnology today, is because we know biotechnology is the use and application of living things in the biological processes. For example, we can use, today, the scientists are trying to grow algae to use that to generate electricity for people in the community. Because as soon as algae start to reproduce they help to ferment the environment they've been put in. So this could lead to getting fuel, which could be used for cars, to power houses, or some other aspect of electrical appliances in the house. And also with the knowledge about technology, we've been able to work on transgenic organisms. For example, we can be able to know which trait is quite favorable in an animal or in a plant. And we have to, after we've been able to know about all these traits, we can be able to get that trait out of that animal or the plant, and then we transfer into another animal, and we grow the animal to increase the number of those animals with a new trait. So this has been able to allow us to have a good or a better trait in the lineage of animals or plants. Gone are the days before now, we used to have cassava that we have to wait for 2.5 years to harvest it. But with the recent use of technology in biology, we've been able to have another breed of the same cassava that can be harvested in just 6 months. So this is amongst the benefits of having the knowledge of biology. Also, when we talk about DNA and testing in medicine and forensics, we've been able to have equipment to know the DNA of a person, and which has been saved. And after that, we can compare the DNA of this person, because we know DNA is just like a blueprint of a person's body. So we can be able to know by comparing the DNA of a person who had committed a crime before to a new crime which has been committed. So we can be able to use that for forensics to detect a criminal, or to detect people who committed some offenses. We have a lot of people who were jailed before now because we never had the knowledge of this DNA testing and forensics. But with the recent development in technology, many people have been freed from the jail because they got to know that they were not involved in most of these crimes which they were actually being jailed for. So this is the way in which knowledge of biology can really help your future. And also, like I said to you before, we've got a lot of genetically modified crops today, which before we had crops which will have to take a longer time before they grow to the level which we can harvest them. But with the help of biotechnology, we've been able to modify these crops to suit our own taste. We might want the fruits to be bigger than the normal one which we used to have before. We might want it to be shorter so that we can harvest them easily. We might want them to grow faster, or so that the crops could yield faster, so that we can have more food in the community. As we know, the population of people is increasing every day. So we would have to need all these things to be able to keep our community in a good way. And also, we've been able to transfer a trait into bacteria, and which is a trait which we actually need in them. And after that, we've been able to use that a lot in medicine. Like, we have some organisms which are actually very resistant to medicines, to antibiotics. So we've been able to help the community by trying to know the gene which has been transferred into those bacteria that allow them to get resistant to these medications. And also, we've been able to use, with the knowledge of technology, we've been able to diagnose diseases at the early stage, so that it doesn't get critical or chronic before it's been detected. So, but there's been a way. People have been raising a lot of questions today about the food which are being got from biotechnology, means the genetically modified food. Now, are they quite good for the health, or are they like ordinary food? What we know is, people are asking that, is it safe to eat food with genetically modified insect resistance? What is genetically modified plant spread undesirable genes? such as those of herbicide resistance to white plants. And also around the world today, the benefiting risk about technology are being debated, people talking about it. Understanding this benefiting risk requires knowledge of ecosystem, genetic principles, and even the functions of the gene itself. So if you modify a plant, it doesn't necessarily mean that the plant is not good for eating. But the point is, we want to be able to increase the yield of these crops, and that's the reason why we've been able to modify it. Sometimes it might not last like the ones which are natural, but actually, to now, there's not been anyone who could be able to give enough evidence to back up the fact that the food which are genetically modified are not good for the health. And also, we can be able to transfer or spread the genes which we've been able to isolate from the organisms or from the plant, and we can be able to spread it in different communities so that that could also increase the yield of the desirable genes which we need, and the ones which are not desired could be removed from the community. But people asking that spread of undesirable genes, that genes which they don't desire, could be spread in the community. But this is not the case. The scientists have been able to find a way of finding the genes which they need in the community. The plants, they will have to let the genes which is not needed to move away from the community by not planting these crops anymore, or the ones which have been found, they cut them off or kill them. Also, people are saying that if they're not going to decrease the biodiversity, now we know diversity, we have diversity where we have different types of crops in the community. But now, because we've got the use of biotechnology to spread the genes we need, and we're trying to do away with the ones we don't need, all these things can actually work with the way we have the knowledge we have about biology or the technology itself. And some other people are looking into the ethical. When talking about ethical, you're talking about the religious aspect of it. So, but all these things has to do with the personality of the person working with those traits or working with the genes. It has to do with people, about you and your religion and you and your community. So, but we cannot say because of what some people are saying, we should not work on about technology, because we've been able to see the benefits over a long period of time. And also, the structure of the DNA was being described for almost around 1953. But around 2003, the entire human gene sequence was known. Since that time, the biological knowledge has really exploded. So, but even today, we are people still asking a lot of questions, and they wanting people to give answers. People can say, can cancer be prevented or cured? How do viruses mutate? How do memory is stored in the brain? One of the most interesting questions we have to now is whether life exists on the planet other than the Earth. Extreme environments, we find organisms living in environments where we have methane, worms, where we think nothing can ever live in it. So all this, as I said to you before, it's logical to the for people to think that we can have Earth outside the planet, outside the world. But all these things, you can have a huge number of questions in biology, which is not answered depending on how vast your knowledge of biology is. The more you advance in biology, the more questions you keep asking people, and you want more answers. And the picture we find here is a methane worm living in a frozen methane gas at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. And the reason is because some organisms can live in such extreme environment. So some scientists now, they have the hypothesis, they're guessing that life can exist or once existed before also on a planet which is close to the Earth, which we call Mars. So this is all I have for you on the previous chapter. And also we have a lot of people asking also how are memories stored in the brain? That we say, for example, if you've been brought into a building or been brought into a gathering, and you look at the people over there who are sitting in it, and if you're taken away, and after around let's say 20 years, you're brought to the same place without anybody, if you know the names of people who were sitting in that place before, you can be able to tell exactly where each and every one of them are sat. So this is the way in which the brain keeps memory. So there are lots of questions also about how do the brain help to keep memory, how the virus mutates, and how lots of questions does life would it, can we have a life on other planets apart from the Earth? So all these things are questions which scientists are asking, and lots of scientists also, it's a way, it's opening doors for them to carry on more research on the field of biology. So this is all I have for you today about biology and your future. And I wish you also will be motivated today to continue with your own research at your own level about what you think you're quite interested in the aspect of biology. As they say, the sky will be the limit. You can go as to what extent you want to go if you're quite interested in the field of research. Thank you for listening. Bye.